This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Wednesday night. The state of emergency now unfolding tonight. Homes being swept away, families forced to evacuate amid horrific flooding. The developing situation, 2 dams failing in Michigan, thousands of families forced from their homes now. Water at record levels tonight, houses seen floating away. A Dow chemical plant evacuated. The nuclear reactor nearby already shut down because of the virus. Tonight, the concern there. Families already worried about coronavirus, thousands of them now forced to flee their homes. A state of emergency at this hour in Michigan, one of the hardest hit states from the virus, now facing this. Homes swept away by the flooding. The images coming in tonight. 2 dams failing. There had been so much concern that this could happen, and it has, with dire results. And look at this tonight, homes being lifted off their foundations. This image sadly playing out more than once as homes could be seen floating away. And it's impossible to imagine tonight what these families are going through, already trying to stay safe in this pandemic, now in shelters, trying to keep a safe distance from strangers. Many not knowing if they'll have a home to return to, and if so, in what condition. We are on the scene tonight, and meteorologist Rob Marciano leads us off from Midland, Michigan.
Tonight, horrifying images in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh my God, that's somebody's house.
Homes in central Michigan floating away. The National Weather Service warning residents to get to higher ground. 2 catastrophic dam collapses in just hours.
Be advised that we have a dam breach at Edenville.
This is the moment the Edenville Dam disintegrated outside Midland, Michigan, following days of rain. Downstream, the Sanford Dam breaching less than 2 hours later.
The dam has failed. 100% failure. Evacuate.
10,000 residents forced to flee.
Could it get worse? Yes.
A nearby Dow chemical plant forced to evacuate, too. Officials say floodwaters are mixing with containment ponds. The nuclear reactor on site already shut down as a coronavirus protocol. Federal regulators had reportedly worried about a possible failure at the Edenville Dam for years.
Regarding the dams, the state of Michigan is reviewing every potential legal recourse that we have.
Complicating matters, Michigan remains under a stay-at-home order to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Officials say hundreds are in shelters.
Another 40 or 50 stayed in their cars, and the reason largely was the concerns about the COVID-19 virus.
On top of this 100-year event, we have a 500-year event in a flood that has absolutely devastated a lot of families.
Just unbelievable. Rob Marciano with us live tonight from Midland, Michigan. And Rob, the images, as you know, being right there on the scene are heartbreaking on top of what families were already going through with the pandemic. I know there's concern, obviously, with the flooding where you are as we head into the night, but this system's also on the move. Where does it hit next?
Well, it's heading south tonight. I can tell you they're concerned about one of those dams failing further. This river has never been this high. You can see the water pouring into that new hotel, into the county courthouse, dangerously close to the main street here, which, like many towns, is already taken an economic hit from the virus shutdown. This river right now is cresting, but will remain at record levels, David, into the weekend.
All right, Rob Marciano, we appreciate you making that trip to be there with those families tonight in Michigan. Thank you.
Tonight, floodwaters are slowly receding in Michigan, revealing the scope of the devastation. Homes and businesses were swamped Tuesday night after one dam failed and another was breached. Both dams are owned by a private company that has a history of safety violations.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, everyone. Emotional whiplash for thousands in central Michigan this evening as stay-at-home orders over coronavirus were suddenly turned to calls to evacuate after a pair of dam failures triggered catastrophic flooding. Tonight, record water levels have washed away roads and cars, left homes and businesses underwater, and put some 10,000 residents under evacuation orders. For many, the trauma worsened by the added worry of maintaining social distancing. Our Kathy Park is in the flood zone.
The water came fast and furious. A pair of dams in central Michigan failing, sending water gushing into homes and businesses.
That's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Massive amount of debris there.
Reducing much of this dam to rubble.
Never thought in my life that the dam would break.
The flooding catastrophic. The governor declaring a state of emergency.
It's hard to believe that we're in the midst of a 100-year crisis, a global pandemic, and that we're also dealing with a flooding event that looks to be the worst in 500 years.
Evacuate the area.
It's a crisis within a crisis. People here are still under stay-at-home orders for coronavirus, but 10,000 were ordered to evacuate. Daniel Hammond grabbed her pets and rushed to the school turned shelter.
We're still under stay home, stay safe. If I stayed home, I wouldn't be safe. I'm not safe anywhere right now.
I'm not sure what we're going to do.
Betty Pankey left too. Floodwaters forcing her out of this senior living center.
The dining room and the kitchen are totally flooded.
The river here cresting at more than 35 feet, a historic high.
This is downtown Sanford.
Entire towns already submerged. Now concerns for Dow Chemical's main plant, which sits on the riverbanks. The safety of these dams has long been under scrutiny. Federal regulators rated both dams as high hazards in 2018, meaning loss of human life is likely if the dam fails. Tonight, no deaths or serious injuries have been reported, but this community remains on edge, grappling with dual disasters.
Today's flooding broke a 34-year record. Parts of Midland are completely submerged. Experts say that this was so destructive, the geography of the area could be permanently reshaped. Lester?
All right, Kathy Park in Michigan tonight. Thank you.
Now to the state of emergency in Michigan, where the president was today, of course. Record flooding hitting right in the middle of this pandemic. Homes and businesses now surrounded by water after 2 dams failed there. Some homes lifting off foundations, floating away. Thousands have been forced from their homes. Tonight, flash flood watches now in effect for Virginia and the Carolinas. Heavy rain moving into the Northeast. So let's get right to Rob Marciano, who is live in Michigan again tonight for us. Rob?
Good evening, David. So many rivers remain in flood stage. Behind me, you can see one of those failed dams and all that debris pinned up against those hydropower gates. From above, you see exactly where that dam was overtopped, and water continues to pour downstream, where we're still experiencing major flooding here in Michigan and across much of the Midwest, where flood warnings remain, and across the Mid-Atlantic as well. David?
Rob Marciano with us again. Rob, thank you.
When the Edenville Dam failed, it caused a domino effect leading to disaster. The Tittabawassee River crested at a record high yesterday. Wixom Lake emptied and rushed downstream, and while much of the water has receded, residents have been left with a devastating mess. 7 Action News reporter Kim Russell is live at Sanford Lake with a live look at all of the damage there. Kim.
Yes, I want to give you an idea first of how much water is gone. Where I am standing right now, normally I would be underneath water in Sanford Lake. You can see those docks right there. My head is underneath the supports. To give you an idea of how much water was here when the Edenville Dam, which is upstream, failed, neighbors tell me that pontoon boats that broke free were crashing into the US 10 bridge right there. There was so much water.
This is a picture of what Sanford Lake looked like before the rain came. Just water. On Monday night, Pam Schultz says police woke her up, warning she might soon be in an evacuation zone because her house is across the street from the lake.
Well, then the next day we're looking fine until we got a text saying the dam at Wixom had gone and that we had to all evacuate.
Now her lake looks like this. When the Edenville Dam upstream failed, the rush of water caused the dam downstream to fail. So now the lake is lower than it has been in decades. Tree stumps from trees here before the lake was made are now at the surface. Neighbors say the water flowed so high, they saw pontoon boats hitting the US 10 Sanford Lake Bridge.
Top of the bridge is gone, so the expressway is closed now. That's our boat right there.
Today, Pam hired this team to move her boat so it wouldn't be leaning precariously on her neighbor's boat. She says protecting the boat is the first step towards recovering her retirement dream from disaster.
We're on this lake every day. My husband and I are both retired. Hey, this is what we worked for 40 years, you know, and now we have this, so it's terrible, but we'll survive, we'll rebuild.
Neighbors tell me some of the pontoons that were hitting that bridge were on lifts like this one as they crashed into it. US 10 is closed over Sanford Lake because of damage. In the meantime, I want to tell you, but I don't want to show you, there's also a loss of a lot of wildlife. There are a lot of dead fish that I can see around here. They smell, it's sad, and everyone is wondering how long it will take to recover, and we don't have an answer to that question just yet. Reporting live in what would be Sanford Lake, Kim Russell. Russell, 7 Action News.
Yeah, certainly sad to see, especially during this pandemic. Thank you, Kim.
7 Action News at 11 starts right now.
Tonight, the disastrous floodwaters receding.
Families forced to evacuate, now returning to see the devastation.
You can see, kind of where the debris is. That's how high it had come up. This is total devastation. Everything that we have worked for is gone.
The heartache and the long road to recovery after catastrophic losses in mid-Michigan.
Good evening to you. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Dave Llewellyn. We thank you, as always, for joining us tonight. Families in Michigan devastated by floodwaters. They've started to pick up the pieces tonight.
The city of Midland invited President Trump to survey the damage, and he granted an emergency declaration for the state. 2 dams breaching Tuesday night, unleashing a nightmare. 7 Action News reporter Rudy Harper is in Midland tonight with a look at the tough task of cleaning up.
We've spent all day here in Midland. This is one of the hardest hit areas. Take a look here. The raging waters washed away the ground and forced its way inside this family's home. This is the new reality for so many homeowners on this street.
You can see, kind of where the debris is. That's how high it had come up.
Welcome to the recovery day 1. It's already overwhelming.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Jennifer Smith's neighborhood, ground zero of the historic Midland floods. On Tuesday, the young family forced to flee with little notice.
So it was about a half an hour to truly get whatever we could and get out of here.
Up early, her husband made his way via kayak to their property to survey their loss. Many homes on their street now with structural damage and basements full of water.
As you can see around us, many of the foundations have been swept away on most of the house, most of the basements on this street. By the grace of God, our main floor wasn't touched by water, but we're one of the very few fortunate people that can say that, because I know everybody around here, their main floors have been compromised.
Federal relief is going to end up being a big deal because a lot of the insurance companies are telling people they're not going to help cover repairs.
The hope for many impacted here in mid-Michigan is state and federal assistance will step in where private insurance leaves off.
To hear that there's many people that are going to have absolutely no help financially to recover from this, that just adds that extra heartache.
As this small community labors to clean up, there are sure to be many long days and nights ahead.
This is total devastation. Everything that we have worked for is gone.
A community here now picking up the pieces, and it's hard to look at all this loss and speak to the people here who are uncertain about what tomorrow might bring. In Midland, I'm Rudy Harper, 7 Action News.
One critically important dam has already failed. An entire lake has simply disappeared, and the water is still rising.
As the evacuations were rolling late last night, it was really hard to get a full grasp of exactly what was happening.
You're right, Devin, and it wasn't until daylight brought us our first look at the destruction in and around Midland. These are the 2 areas we're talking about: the Edenville Dam, which failed last night, and the Sanford Dam north of Midland, which has been breached.
We want to get to Jason Colthorpe, who's leading our team coverage tonight from mid-Michigan. Jason, I know you've seen things today that were just extraordinary.
You almost can't overstate it, Devin. Here in Midland, it's a bad situation that's going to get worse. High water has overpowered 2 dams, the Edenville and the Sanford, and now that water is headed downriver, some of what you see behind me here. The small towns of Edenville and Sanford are now lakes, completely underwater. The water has started to flood Midland, the biggest city in the area where we are now. The Tittabawassee River is expected to crest around 8, maybe 9 o'clock tonight at 38 feet. That's still 3 more feet to go. With mass power outages and parts of the sewer system failing, 500 people have taken shelter at local schools at this point. It's all really jaw-dropping. The area captured with the live pictures from Drone 4, this used to be a lake. When the dams failed, all of the water drained, leaving just this behind. Hard to imagine. And now take a look at live pictures from a neighborhood in Midland. Houses underwater. We'll have a live report from there in just a few minutes. And now here's what it looks like from above live with Drone 4 again. The city of 40,000 submerged, Governor Whitmer toured this area today and says everyone needs to take these warnings seriously.
If you're in an impacted area, please evacuate. This is going to be hard, but we are anticipating several feet of water across this area. And so while we're in the midst of a global pandemic, it's really important that to the best of our ability, we observe the best practices to keep ourselves and our families safe.
Yeah, the pictures from across the area tonight show exactly what a 500-year flood looks like. That's what they're calling it. And when the Eatonville Dam failed last night around 7, the rushing water mowed down trees, destroyed houses. It pushed semis and buses around like they were toys. And, you know, we have a sizable team here on the ground in this area, and we coordinate with our team back in Detroit all day long in many different ways, including a group text. And a message came in earlier today that really stopped us all in our tracks. It was from Sean Lay, and it was just 4 words: Wixom Lake is gone. He spoke to a homeowner there whose view is now stunningly different.
Well, good afternoon, everyone from Hope, Michigan. Take a look at your television screens. Take a nice long look, because everything you see behind me, all of this right here, that was Wixom Lake. And look, the lake, the entire lake, it is gone. And people who have full-time homes here or summer cottages were here yesterday at this very time, and the water, the rainwater had built up so much, it was about at shoulder height. So there were evacuations here, and once people got to safety, they heard the dam down there failed, and it was like pulling a plug out of a bathtub. The lake went that way.
It's devastating. That's all. Just devastating.
Trish Wilson from Redford simply cannot believe her eyes. Let us show you the view she is looking at. It might take your breath away, too. All of this was Wixom Lake.
This was our summer home for the whole family. This is just devastating. Yeah. This is where we've been coming since I was born.
But around 5 yesterday, the Eatonville Dam that created the lake gave way. Trinity Marsh was standing at the dam and watched everything unfold.
We just started hearing trees just cracking and just piling into the thing in the river, and we're like, whoa, you know.
All of that water, all of that power headed right for Dan Vincent. He owns a gas station at the M30 bridge. That bridge is destroyed. He had to evacuate twice and spent the night in his truck.
In the church parking lot up on top of the hill.
Your car?
In the pickup.
In your pickup?
Yep.
Slept in the pickup?
Yep.
Our family has owned this since the 40s. Never has this happened.
Just a stunning afternoon we spent there on Wixom Lake. And look, people are already rolling up their sleeves. They're getting in their homes because there was so much water in the homes all around the lake. They're starting to clean out, and then they would just stop, walk outside, look at what's left of what used to be the lake, and just shake their heads. They come over to us and say, you know, we had lakefront property yesterday. Today, we do not. There's a brand new subdivision, beautiful new homes being built. It says lakefront property there. But the lake is gone. It's a man-made lake, but people are questioning what the future holds for Wixom Lake and the other communities suffering so much damage. Here in just a quiet neighborhood in this area of Midland, the water is finding its way everywhere. And the water you see behind me is now coming up through drains and basements and is starting to rise here. So there are problems everywhere you look. Nick Monticelli, he's been here for hours today. You got here in the very early morning hours, Nick, and I know you're near downtown Midland watching the water levels there.
Good evening to you. So the Tittabawassee River is actually right to my right here, and this is one neighborhood that is underwater. If Chester wants to zoom in all the way, you can see some houses that are partially submerged and some homes that are completely submerged. But when we talk about these flooding situations, we normally or mentally picture a situation like this. You don't envision downtown areas that have this kind of destruction. And in fact, we found that exact case in Midland today. In fact, the farmers market there ready to reopen finally after COVID-19. Now that same market is underwater. The images above Midland paint yet another drastic picture of what these dam problems have created. Homes, businesses, bridges devastated by Mother Nature. One telling sign of how high this water is rising is that green roof. It's Midland's farmers market submerged under roughly 8 to 10 feet of water.
We just did this. We just did this, and I don't know if I don't know how fast we can bounce back this time.
Erin Lyons is the manager at the market. She's talking about the 2017 floods. Add COVID-19 on top of that, and this market should have been opening today.
And we figured that out, and we were a drive-through market, and we should be having a drive-through market right now, right here, today, right now.
This is our livelihood. We lost a lot, but we still have our home, where other ones their homes are destroyed.
Mark and Kathleen Hatzner are one of the 80 vendors that would have been here, making money for the first time in months.
2020's been one blow after another, and for small businesses and mom and pop shops, it's like, we just want to get going.
The long-term damage, both physically and fiscally, can't be known yet, but Lyons does know they will rebuild again.
We can. It just might take a little longer.
So we talk about those physical and fiscal impacts, but Jason, of course, the emotional toll is also a huge issue in here, because once all these waters finally go down, whenever that's going to be, that's when the real work is going to begin. And of course, you're in downtown Midland right now. You're right by that farmer's market. You can see how long it's going to take them to get things put back together again.
Exactly, Nick. Like you said, people just now ready to reopen that farmer's market, and it all yanked away as the water came rushing through. And in an event like this, you do get a devastating look at what it seems like from the ground. But to get the grand scope of this, you really have to go through the air, and the damage just goes on for miles. The images are chilling. Sky 4 and Drone 4 overhead in Midland County, where towns have become lakes because the dams could not withstand the rising water. In Edenville, roads are washed away, big chunks simply missing, and water is now rushing through. Sky 4 captured a man dangerously walking over downed trees to join a group gathered near a steep drop-off that was once a bridge. Cars are submerged in water and buildings have been destroyed. This one collapsed right into the water. And the water levels are so high here, you can only see the roof of this building. Docks that used to stand strong over the water are now nothing but debris in the water. Over in Sanford, a village of just 900 people, a very unwelcome sight in front of the area's welcome sign. Massive trucks have been toppled by the rushing water, pushed around like toys, and the only visible part of this school bus is its yellow roof. Businesses are under feet of water, a clear sign this builder will need to rebuild. In Midland, the area's largest city, Drone 4 shows the water rising around the Tridge, the three-way pedestrian bridge, which is a landmark in the city. Water is creeping into Midland's downtown at this point, and it's already hit neighborhoods. And while it appears there is a stadium under there, it's hard to tell at this point. And of course, all of this as the city is bracing for more.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit. Local 4 News at 5:30 starts now.
The governor calls it a 500-year flood, and the pictures showing us so much devastation. Mid-Michigan hit by massive flooding, thousands evacuated, and the worst of it could still be yet to come.
Yeah, the pictures really are incredible. Right here off the top at 5:30, we want to get back out to Jason Colthorpe live in Midland.
Of course, Jason, with flooding, the situation can change really minute by minute. What are we seeing right now?
Well, imagine what it was like for people when this broke. I'm in about 5 feet of water, 4 feet of water here, and we really thought this would be much smaller. It's only about 10 feet from shore here. This should be a parking lot. The courthouse is over my right shoulder. It's underwater. There's normally a spray park for kids that is out here past this parking lot. In the distance, that green roof is the farmer's market that Nick Monticelli told you about that was supposed to open today, and so many other things that are just now completely underwater. And the devastation that people felt, it was like right out of a movie, because this water is moving fast right now, but people here say it was much faster earlier today, and last night it was coming for homes and coming for businesses and pushing cars and vehicles around like it was nothing. Now, the big headline off the top here at 5:30 is we've learned from the city of Midland The river has crested now. The Tittabawassee River has crested at 35 feet, so that's 3 feet less than what they were expecting. Very good news there. Dow Chemical is in Midland, and a lot of people have been wondering about that. It has initiated its emergency flood response right now, but beyond that, no major problems reported from Dow. And the governor has reached out to FEMA for federal assistance, and she's also talked to the White House. She's telling us to get immediate funds to help the people who have been devastated by this. And somebody who's talked to a lot of those people is the night camp, Tim Pamplin. He's been out here since yesterday around 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And in Edenville, where it's underwater, he talked to the town manager just about how devastated they are and what it's going to take to recover now.
The pet grooming parlor collapsed. Cars flipped upside down, roofs ripped off homes. Kim came home from work to the unimaginable. She saw her home floating down the river.
I got home at 5:30, 5:45. The dam broke and I lost my house and everything in it.
Along with propane tanks, trees, boats, and cars. All eyes then turned here. Would the Sanford Dam collapse with all the water and debris piling up against it? Experts suspected it was just a matter of time.
My dad actually came down here and tied my Toyota to the tree.
This Sanford resident couldn't believe his eyes as the torrential water came barreling down the street.
I had a garage standing right there.
Where'd it go?
Downstream.
It appears the emergency alert system worked. Thousands of residents evacuated to higher ground.
I haven't heard of any injuries either. So.
The Sanford village manager says her community of just 800 is going to need help. She says she was grateful to hear the governor's state of emergency last evening and hopes that the help comes quickly.
I think we're going to need a lot of help cleaning this up. There's a lot of debris floating in the lake.
She tells me job one is to remove all of that debris that is now forced up against the Sanford Dam. That is the scene in Sanford this afternoon. Tim Pamplin, Local 4.
The Red Cross is also on scene to help a lot of the folks here. 6 high schools have been turned into centers where families can go right now. And we have so much more to cover in our hour and a half of news. At 6 o'clock, we have a defender's investigation into the dam, the Edenville Dam that gave way. What warning signs were there? We'll have all of that for you coming up at 6. For now, back to you guys in Detroit.
Just incredible footage coming out of Midland. All right.
So many families we've been talking to in Sanford tell us they are just praying for federal relief.
For the ones who were fortunate enough to not lose everything, the cleanup could take weeks, possibly even months. Sean Lay spent the day with folks who will be spending their holiday weekend picking up the pieces.
We finally made it back to this neighborhood here in Sanford, just off the main road, just off the river here. The water's finally down, and now you can get a clear picture of the utter devastation here. Houses just swept right off their foundations this way, and the people, the lives impacted here. They're just now able to look around and truly get their first look at just how awful and devastating this is.
And that was her house.
That was where the house was.
Travis Behringer and Crystal Kearns are taking in the destruction of their Sanford neighborhood for the very first time. And for Crystal, it's the little things that get her choked up.
My turtle was actually in that house when this all happened, and I thought for sure she was dead. I've had her for 6 years, but we found her yesterday in the room underneath the ceiling. She's alive. I mean, it's just crazy. It's unreal.
The couple and their 2 daughters have the last home standing here, but the home has been destroyed.
Our entire life is in about 6 totes. But you know what? There's people back here that have not even a tote.
This area flooded in 2017. Homes were appraised for a FEMA buyout, but that buyout never came. This is video of the Edenville Dam failing Tuesday night, sending massive Wixom Lake right into this neighborhood downriver.
Now the worst has happened, correct?
Exactly why we want it out of here.
Now FEMA has been tapped to try to help again.
I really hope so, because we're homeless.
Where were you staying?
We're staying with his parents, but we don't have a home. We don't have a place to sit in our chairs with our cats on our chest and love on our cats. And
to call our own, a place where I can go home, take my boots off, and relax. And it's sad.
This community is amazing. Sanford is a wonderful town. It really is. Everybody, it's humbling the outpour of help that we have all got and received, and you know, it's unbelievable.
Let's also talk about the basics here, because the water is now gone. So just now, people are able to come back here and take a look at all of this. The Red Cross has not been by yet. They just haven't been able to get back in, and even calling insurance agents, that hasn't happened either. This is a process, and people say they're taking it just hour by hour. In Sanford, Sean Lay, Local 4.
That's all you can do, Sean.